So, let's see, and then you had a hard time getting a job. We stayed with Mother and Dad first.
We stayed with your mom and dad for about 2 days.
Was that all?
And then we got a call from Daly,
I think it was 2
and he had arranged for me to go to work at Pacific Fruit and Produce, where Daly worked. You remember Daly?
Gwen's husband, David.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I don't know if you'd remember him, but you remember,
I remember
she
the
had a
name
husband.
Well, he hadn't been dead that long.
Well,
He'd been dead
he
about
would
8
be
years.
a pretty young guy by then. I don't know.
Well, how old would you have been? He was. That was 8 years ago.
I've been 28.
Oh,
I mean, let's face it.
you would have known him.
I'm older than you thought, Mom.
You're just my little boy.
So we went to Idaho Falls and got a place to live and rented an apartment and went to work for produce. They had me unloading semi-trucks of lettuce and cabbage and things of that nature. The lettuce was really tough because they had it packed down with ice to keep it cold. And so when you got in that truck, there was ice and water running from melting. It's hard to stand up. And I remember...
Oh, for goodness sake, I'm hiding you. Go ahead now.
You what?
Never mind,
Oh.
go ahead.
She's moving all over. Out of the frame,
I think
hiding
I'm
you.
getting bored. I think it's my turn.
If we need to take a break, it can take a break.
It's okay.
I remember one night we was unloading a great big semi-truck that had pulled in from Texas to load up lettuce. And it was so wet. And then when you got to you had these big two-wheel carts, and you get down near where the ramp went off the truck into the building, and it was pretty steep. It was about like that. And it was about 10 feet long, maybe 8 feet, but it was slick because of all the water. And I remember this one guy slipped and fell. And here he had a load of lettuce. There was 5 of these great big wooden crates full of lettuce. It weighed probably 350 pounds. And he slipped and fell, and it came down over on him. And the leg of one of the carts hit him right here in part of his leg, and really damaged him pretty bad. He had to go to the hospital.
Now is it my turn?
Your turn.
So when he went to work there, we got our first apartment after he got home was there in Idaho Falls, of course, and it was an apartment building that had 3 or 4
Upstairs
floors, I guess. And we started upstairs.
You remember what it's called, the apartment building?
I cannot remember it, but anyway. And then when one came,
I'd walk from there to work, so it wasn't more than maybe 4 or 5 blocks.
and
We didn't have a car when I first got home.
yeah, but gosh, that was so silly. We had the apartment upstairs. We didn't like it that we had to go up those stairs. So then one came available downstairs, and we took it. And then a studio apartment where you pull it out of the wall and the bed.
The bed would
You
come
know.
down from the wall.
And it was smaller than either of those apartments, but it was so much less money. So we moved into that one. I think sometimes we were crazy, but anyway. But then it was from there that we went to Lily and Darwin's. Yeah, they told us that their basement apartment, which was, it had big
House, a
windows.
big house with a basement apartment.
That had big windows, so it wasn't that bad. But anyway. And so we moved there. That was nice. We enjoyed that. And Jerry Lynn was born while we lived there.
And it was while we lived there that we got our first car. We found us a little coupe. A coupe, you know what a coupe is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, we found us a little Chevrolet coupe, light green color. Cost $150. So Dad gave us the $150. I just told him, I said, I'd like to borrow it from you, and then we pay it back. So he gave us $150. We bought that car, and we thought we had gone to the Celestial Kingdom. And one of the first sales I had where I could earn some money, I was selling cars commission.
Oh, you changed now. Now you're in the car business, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And because we
It
lived,
sounded like
that
we
was
were
on Lee
still-
Street. We
I
moved to
know,
Lee
but
Street.
did we have a transition into that, or did we just all of a sudden move into that without letting you know?
Well,
Anyway,
one day when Dad was there, I gave him $150 back. He took it, threw it on the ground. He said, "Oh hell!"
he is a
Threw the
funny.
money all over the ground. He refused to take it back.
Oh man. If all of the kids were here, they'd all enter, and maybe you could too. Maybe you remember being at their place, but not very much, were you?
I don't remember
You were pretty young,
Grandpa Lewis at all.
but it was so funny
See, that was '76 when he died.
because we're almost doing the same thing now of everything.
I was 3.
We're 3 years old, yeah.
Dal was on his mission when that happened.
But it
I wrote to Dal and says, "Dear Dal, Dad died."
and he thought it was me writing.
He thought it was her writing a letter. He didn't realize that it was my dad until he got to the end of the letter and could see who wrote the letter.
He about had a heart attack. Anyway, but it was so funny when we'd go there with the kids because James, we finally learned a little bit. We had to learn everything, I guess everybody does, but we were bringing in a big group in on them when we'd go to stay there. It's a wonder they had any place to put anybody. And
We had kids all over the floor sleeping at night.
and they'd hear Grandma, she'd shuffle around, she'd say, "My hell, those kids, they just won't settle down."
You were probably one of them.
He was probably one of the cats that she thought was
Yeah.
a cat running around on the floor.
And that was John.
John.
That was when she was kind of on her deathbed. We would go up there.
She was really late when that was happening, but even before that, it just, and we didn't take offense, but we just thought, oh, this is too much. So we got where we had such a huge family that we'd only take maybe 4 at the most. Really.
Yeah.
And when we'd go visit them, and we'd change off with who'd get to go, but the babies always got to go. But anyway, whew.